Hi there, everyone. Here's some of what's heading your way tonight. Your news at 9. As area pharmacies look to use up their vaccine supply before it expires, they are creating waiting lists to open to anyone, also avoiding to waste any of that vaccine. Plus, Fort Scott Community College waives general fees for students through federal funds.
President Biden holds his first news conference where immigration and D.C. politics were the focus. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. What he said about containing the coronavirus coming up.
Doug Hetty is weather. Jacob Leonard has sports. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. Some area pharmacies are working to make sure no vaccine goes to waste. As pharmacies receive more doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, more appointments, of course, can be made. Obviously, sometimes people miss their appointment, right? So instead of letting the vaccine go to waste, pharmacies call people on their waiting lists. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky tells us more.
Stone's Corner Pharmacy is just 2 weeks into administering the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. After waiting for some time to finally get their hands on it, they're ready to hit the ground running.
It's been awful across the world, and to be able to do something about it, I think the vaccine is the best method to fast forward through it.
Chad Isaacs, pharmacist and owner of Stone's Corner, says once they get their shipments of the vaccine in, they start to schedule their appointments based on criteria from the state. But they also have waiting lists.
We have a waiting list that we have staged by appropriate criteria, and we make contact with those individuals and we bring them in on scheduled slots.
Once a vial of the Moderna vaccine is opened, it has 6 hours to be used before going bad. So at the end of the day, they call people on the list to avoid waste. Pharmacies like Stone's Corner encourage people to get onto their website to fill out eligibility information and complete their list.
Without these lists, not only could vaccines go to waste, but those in need could go unprotected.
I have an older daughter who has autoimmune disorders, and you can't go do anything. And we've really been scared that we'd bring it home all this time. So yeah, I think that there should be a list.
For Jane Jones, the process of giving out these extra vaccines helped her daughter get vaccinated earlier.
With her illnesses, we were just worried that if we brought it home, it was going to be a death sentence. So we were just really thankful to be able to get it quicker.
Jones says now she can worry a bit less.
And so being able to walk in when they had extra was a big relief.
Nobody wants to be wasteful with this vaccine, and these waiting lists help avoid that, while even allowing earlier protection for some. In Webb City, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Isaacs will go live on the pharmacy's Facebook page to answer questions people may have about this vaccine. Folks in Chanute, Kansas are going to have the chance to get their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The Neosho Memorial Regional Medical Center in Chanute hosting a walk-in vaccine clinic. It's Monday from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Central Park Pavilion in Chanute. This is only for people who need their first dose of the vaccine. Okay, only the first dose. Second doses will be held on April 23rd. States are scrambling to get shots in arms as the biggest vaccination project in American history continues expanding. But we're also seeing an uptick in the number of daily cases. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Siri has more from Atlanta.
The U.S. has now passed 30 million confirmed COVID cases, and the daily average is still creeping up after months of declines. Health officials say getting more people vaccinated is the only way to bring those numbers down. But this week saw possible delays for a fourth vaccine. AstraZeneca now saying its candidate was 76% effective in preventing COVID-19 symptoms in U.S. trials. That's down from the 79% the company had claimed in an earlier filing. The setback comes as vaccination eligibility is expanding throughout the country. A handful of states have already opened up appointments to all adults, but some local providers say they still don't have enough doses for everyone who wants one.
It's going to take several weeks to get everyone in the community vaccinated. We only draw up a dose when the person for whom that dose is intended is physically on site at our facility. So we don't have doses at the end of the day.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are asking tough questions about the vaccination effort, which is being overseen by the feds. Some Democrats say more funding is needed for community health care providers, but Republicans claim any delays are due to logistics, not cash, and they say there's already been plenty of money allocated for the vaccine program.
We're not talking about getting shots in arms. We're not talking about the pandemic. we should be conducting oversight on the $4 trillion that actually was passed.
AstraZeneca says it's ready to ship 30 million doses in the U.S. once its vaccine is approved by federal regulators. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Doug Heddy joining us now with the first look at the forecast. Evening was good anyway. The rain stopped.
Yeah, we got all the rain out of here late this afternoon. It wasn't extremely heavy, but we just don't need the rain. It's been very wet over the past couple weeks, and really for March was a very wet month. 51 was our high, so it was chilly. We should be topping out into the mid 60s for this time of the year, but we are seeing all the rain rolling out of here and the clouds starting to break up a bit. If the winds can diminish a little bit with the moisture on the ground, we'll get some patchy fog throughout the overnight hours, but we're done with this storm system. It is cold. Most of us mid 40s. We'll drop back into the upper 30s later on tonight. Again, I do think we could get a little bit of patchy fog in here late, which we'll have to keep our eyes on. But tomorrow looks great. Cold start, but 70 for an afternoon high. Plenty of sunshine. We're going to look at that the weekend, our next storm system, here in just a bit.
Doug, thank you. Arvis Bank says its reconfiguration plan will close 15 branches in Oklahoma, 12 in Arkansas, 4 in Missouri. Southwest Missouri locations closing on June 30th are the West 7th Street branch in Joplin, Neosho's Lusk Drive location, and the Arvis Bank on Main in Knoll. Arvis Bank says it plans to install 38 live teller ATMs throughout its network. These machines allow customers to have face-to-face communication with Arvis tellers throughout a video screen. You can check out the complete list of closings on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Students in Fort Scott, Kansas will be getting some financial relief. Close to $2 million in federal pandemic relief will be used to cover general fees for Fort Scott Community College students. Those fees will be paid for automatically starting in the upcoming fall semester and go through summer of 2022. Officials hope it's going to help open up the doors for new students to go to the college.
We wanted to utilize something that was going to have the absolute highest impact and open up the most amount of doors for some of the students that may not have had that opportunity in the past because of the fees.
Now, some specialized fees, like for tools for a cosmetology class, for example, will not be covered. The suspect in a mass shooting at a grocery store appeared in a Colorado courtroom today across Boulder. Visuals have been held to mourn the victims of Monday's tragedy. Fox News correspondent Alicia Acuna has more.
21-year-old Ahmad Alisa making his first appearance in court Thursday, days after opening fire in a Colorado supermarket. A judge ordering him to remain held without bail. Alisa faces 10 counts of first-degree murder. He was also given an attempted murder charge on a police officer who responded to the shooting. Prosecutors say they plan to file more charges soon.
Federal, state, and local agencies are partnering together, and the teamwork is exactly what it should be. And it's why I'm confident that we'll be able to secure the right result in this case.
Alisa was last seen being led away from the King Soopers grocery store in handcuffs on Monday. At today's hearing, the judge approved the defense's request for the next hearing to be delayed for at least 2 months to assess their client's mental illness.
We cannot begin to assess the nature and depth of Mr. Alisa's mental illness until we have the discovery from the government.
Last night, hundreds gathered outside the Boulder courthouse to remember the 10 lives lost during Monday's mass shooting. Earlier in the day, people lined up to pay tribute to Officer Eric Talley, who was killed while responding to the gunfire. Law enforcement and community members watched as his body was taken to a funeral home.
He was one of the biggest heroes I've ever met, and I look up to him so much to this day. He was a really powerful man, super strong.
Alisa did not enter a plea at today's hearing that will come at a later date. In Boulder, Colorado, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
President Biden's much-anticipated first news conference took place today in the East Room of the White House. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has the latest on what reporters wanted to know and what the president had to say.
Please sit down. Thank you.
On day 64 in office, President Biden's first news conference kicked off with the announcement that his administration plans to hit 200 million shots by the end of his first 100 days.
I know it's ambitious, twice our original goal. I believe we can do it.
Then, without a script and without a teleprompter, just a notebook, he fielded questions on immigration and his administration's handling of thousands of unaccompanied migrant children. Republicans blame him for the surge.
I'd like to think it's because I'm a nice guy, but it's not. It's because of what's happened every year.
And North Korea's attempts to seemingly provoke the new U.S. leader.
There will be responses if they choose to escalate. I'm also prepared for some form of diplomacy.
Plus, on working with the Senate, now slimly in Democratic control, the president said his next major legislative initiative would be a massive infrastructure bill.
I'm ready to work with any Republican who wants to help solve the problem or make the situation better.
Aside from the president's vaccine announcement, the news conference largely focused away from the coronavirus pandemic and the nation's economic recovery.
I got elected to solve problems.
Republicans have been critical of the president for delaying more than 2 months to hold a news conference, the longest a president has waited in more than 100 years. When asked if he would seek re-election in 2024, President Biden said it was his plan and that he would expect to have Vice President Harris on the ticket. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor one of our four-state heroes. Joseph Cartwright has served in the U.S. Army ever since 2007. We are proud to thank and salute Private First Class Joseph Cartwright, a native of Pineville, Missouri. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug Caddy's up next with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later, Coach of the Year honors for someone from Colgan. That's a big hint right there. Going to have details in sports.
Well, it definitely turned out to be kind of a gloomy day for us today. We had showers, even a few thunder showers late last night, and then mainly through the morning hours, and then just kind of light showers throughout the afternoon. But we didn't get extremely heavy amounts of rain, but we don't need any rain. So about 1/1600ths of an inch officially at the airport in Joplin. For the year, we're pressing 10 inches. For the month, we're at about 5.5 inches. So a very wet March on tap for us. We are clearing out. The clouds are starting to break up just a bit. So it looks good. Indigo sky. Casino and resort, of course. Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. But it is chilly. Our temperature is 46, 47, 48 degrees, which we prefer it to be a little bit warmer this time of the year. And we have these kind of northwesterly winds on the backside of the system, kind of ushering in that cooler air. But look at the winds. They're going near calm now. So with the moisture on the ground and the wind so light, we'll most likely get some patchy fog in here, especially after midnight. So if you're going to be on the roadways late tonight into early tomorrow morning, watch out for that. But a quick warm up, 50 by 10, 64 by noon. And then we're going to go all the way up to about 70 degrees, which is definitely fairly nice. But you can see the rainfall. Most of us got rain, just some sprinkles, far western counties, Neodesha, Fredonia, Yates Center. Everybody else about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. And then once you get south of Interstate 44, a lot of areas picked up 1/2 inch upwards to 1 inch of rain. So it was much heavier in our southeastern counties. But this is all rotating out of here. We do still have some clouds which are sticking around, but they're starting to break up just a bit. This whole storm system wrapping up, but it has produced a lot of severe weather across the southeastern parts of the U.S. Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, numerous long track, dangerous, deadly tornadoes, as there were several casualties. So a pretty big severe weather event across southeastern parts of the U.S. Out to the west, here's our next storm system. You can see the energy diving into the Pacific Northwest. That will start to affect us late Saturday and into Saturday night. Until then, I think we look okay. So tonight we're going to have a little bit of fog. It's going to burn off. We'll have some morning clouds and then mostly sunny skies. Tomorrow's going to be a great day, the best day that we have had all week. Chilly start, 39, 64 by noon, high temp of 70. South winds at about 10 to 15. Tomorrow night looks fine, clear. We'll drop back near 50 for an overnight low. And then as we work into Saturday, we're going to be ahead of a cold front. So most of the day we should go into lower 70s, but a cold front slides in 4 or 5 o'clock, and we are going to get some thunderstorms that boom right along this front. Some of those could be strong, maybe low grade severe. So that's something we want to watch. They'd be very quick moving storms and right on out of here by mid-evening on Saturday. But we do need to watch that over the next couple days. But at least we start to warm up. Tomorrow looks great, 70, 72 on Saturday, 61 on Sunday, 68 on Monday.
Certainly, as you were saying, we're thinking about those people down south with all those tornadoes. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that time of the year in the Dixie states. I mean, their severe weather season is March and April. Ours is really April, May.
Yeah. Not good. All right, Doug, we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much. Coming up, critical learning gaps.
The White House continuing to insist that schools across the country reopen for students. I'm Kevin Cork in Washington with new data that shows how the pandemic is putting some students at a great deficit. That's coming up.
Students are getting back into the classrooms, of course, but not enough to satisfy the Biden administration. The White House is out with numbers about where the country stands when it comes to increasing in-person learning. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork takes a look.
There are critical gaps when it comes to how students are learning during the pandemic. Although close to half of the country's elementary schools now offer full-time in-person education, the Biden administration says a majority of minority students are still mostly remote. At least 76% of elementary and middle schools are now offering either in-person or hybrid classes. A general increase in students trading in their screens for actual FaceTime with their teachers. A major key to reopening all classrooms? Vaccinations. Some schools in Milwaukee, for example, are eyeing a potential return to in-person learning as early as next month and are ramping up efforts to get every teacher inoculated.
It's encouraging for parents to know that educators who were maybe on the fence and were waited, they still have access.
But it's not smooth sailing for every district, as teachers in Chicago are facing a vaccine roadblock. 2 vaccine centers under investigation after allegedly giving away thousands of shots meant for city school employees.
They've got work to do, I think, to rebuild trust in their own community.
The Department of Education is doing all it can to get American school kids back in the classroom. In fact, recently they've announced that $81 billion has now been made available by the government to improve the in-class environment, including improvements in ventilation systems available for schools across the country, and obviously hiring more staffs in the hopes of keeping kids and teachers safe and getting them all back in the classroom. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Just ahead, what's being called a state of emergency?
The Biden administration is facing calls for immediate action at the southern border. I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with more on how officials are handling the escalating immigration crisis coming up.
More than 16,000 migrant children are in U.S. custody, and that number is only expected to climb, while space to house them is dropping. Fox News correspondent Ashley Strohmeyer reports on what government officials are trying to learn from the undocumented minors and where the Biden administration is planning on housing them.
Migrants continue flooding into the U.S. illegally. Many are hiring smugglers to transport them at night.
We've dealt with the immigration population families over the past 2 years. This year, they say it's a little bit more, increasing the numbers and families.
But it's the thousands of unaccompanied minors that's straining resources in Texas, with the Biden administration refusing to turn away any unsupervised child. Currently, the average number of unaccompanied children apprehended each day is almost double the amount back in 2019. The influx is proving too much to handle, as space inside many border facilities is becoming scarce.
These kids are turning themselves in at the bridges. They're asking for political asylum. They're asking to have their day in court. And so we need to realize that that's the issue.
The children are causing the most concern, but could also be sources of crucial information.
Learn whatever they can from those children so that we will have information that will allow us as a state to begin to crack down on human trafficking.
If there are coyotes, if there are smugglers, let's get them, Governor Abbott. And again, you need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Sending National Guard troops and highway patrol officers to the border doesn't solve anything.
President Biden says new migrant facilities are expected to open soon in San Antonio and San Diego, creating new space for roughly 5,000 children. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
Up next, going to check out what might be the largest jigsaw puzzle ever assembled. All right, let's check this out. A German puzzle enthusiast has put together a 54,000-piece jigsaw he claims is the biggest in the world. Goodness. It took Peter Schubert 4.5 months to complete. This vast show is an art gallery complete with visitors admiring the walls, which were adorned with famous artworks. Schubert says he has assembled around 430,000 pieces in his life, according to his own math, and he still finds it thrilling. Good for him. Again, that's something I would look at, would enjoy looking at, but not putting together. I don't have the patience for puzzles. I like looking at them, just not doing them. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. You're going to have expert advice on how to tell if your plants have died from the winter cold or if they can come back. Also, going to learn more about a Democratic plan that Republicans say will nationalize elections. The great outdoors looking a little more brown right now since many bushes and plants could be very damaged. An extension agent at K-State says outdoor bushes and shrubs could experience winter kill. With the cold temperatures last month, and they were cold, right? Damaged them enough they need to be replaced. But before you do anything, they recommend waiting a few more weeks because many plants and shrubs could come back in the warmer summer months.
If, here in another month or a month and a half, they are seeing no sign of leaves appearing, then at that point, you definitely know something is wrong.
If you do end up needing to replace bushes or shrubs, K-State has a list of recommended species for our area. We've put that list on our website. See it right there, KOAMNewsNow.com. An area mother is putting out a call for help to find a kidney donor for her baby son. 2.5-year-old Waylon went through end-stage renal failure last July. He's come back home in October, but has to go through dialysis 12 to 14 hours a day and take several medications. Well, now the family is looking for a kidney donor for Waylon.
It was a surprise. We thought that probably his kidneys were shut down temporarily and he'll recover. So it was very surprising.
From there, we went, and started figuring out that he's going to need a kidney transplant. And, he's on all kinds of meds.
If you are over 18 years old and would like to see if you are a match for Waylon, you can message his mother on Facebook. Listen closely. Her profile is named Danny L. That's DANIELLE. Again, that's Danny L. A rare sighting in the Senate, both the majority leader and minority leader appearing as special expert witnesses. It's all part of the debate over a Democratic plan that Republicans say is going to nationalize elections. Fox News correspondent Chad Pergram has the details from Capitol Hill.
It's been 7 years since the Senate Majority Leader and Minority Leader both testified at the same hearing. It speaks volumes about why this voting measure consumes the two sides.
We're going to hear that this bill, gasp, register Americans to vote, is a Democratic power grab.
This is clearly an effort by one party to rewrite the rules of our political system.
Voting rights are sacrosanct. They must be inviolable.
It's an invitation to chaos.
Democrats say that's exactly why this bill is necessary.
Let me tell you what chaos is. Chaos is purging names of longtime voters from a voter list.
Democrats fear Republican state legislatures curbing voting access.
The shadow of Donald Trump falls dark and large over this caucus when they act like that.
Republicans contend this bill enhances voter fraud. It requires states offer more than 2 weeks of early voting and permit online registration. But the bill's supporters say they don't have problems back home.
We have same-day registration, no excuse absentee voting, no voter ID, and no fraud.
Republicans note the Constitution says voting methods are left to the states.
Why in the world would we give up state control of our elections to the federal government?
The bill is S1, as in Senate Bill 1. Republicans argue that says a lot about Democrats' priorities.
It's keeping Democrats in power for 100 years.
Everyone's watching West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin. He says the bill has good things, but worries about stoking mistrust in the voting system. Even if Democrats stick together, they lack the votes to overcome a filibuster. Democrats are now mulling permanently extinguishing the filibuster on all bills, be it for guns or S1. Both big promises to the liberal base. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
A bit later, going after a specific type of lumber.
Demand for reclaimed lumber is soaring. Coming up, we'll show you one company that's turning old barnwood into new treasure.
Well, another gloomy day for us today. We really haven't had the best weather throughout this week. We've had a lot of clouds, kind of on and off showers. Temperatures kind of cool, and it's going to go away. We're actually going to see pretty good weather. as we head into the next couple days. We still have some thunderstorm chances, but at least our temperatures are going to be quite a bit better. The rain wasn't very heavy for most of us, only about 0.2 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch for the entire storm system, but we've been racking it up over the past couple of weeks. 5.5 inches for the month, for the year, just shy of 10 inches. But this system is gone. The clouds are starting to break up. Looks good. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, temperatures mid to upper 40s. We're going to drop back probably to about 39 later on tonight. But with the moisture on the ground and the winds are becoming near calm, I do think we're going to see some patchy fog, especially after midnight into the early morning hours. So watch out for that if you are going to be on the roadways. So a cold start, but a quick warm-up. 50 by 10, 64 by noon, up to 70 during the afternoon, which is a lot better than what we have seen over the past couple days. Here's the rainfall amounts. Western counties, not much. Everybody else, 1/10, 2/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. But once you get south of Interstate 44, most areas picked up 1/2 inch to about an inch of rain across the region. This system heading out, the rain working out, but the clouds still kind of hanging tough. They're starting to break up just a bit, but we are done with this storm system as it continues to roll now across the eastern third of the country. So let's take a look out to the west. You can see the jet stream energy diving in to the Pacific Northwest and also parts of California. That's our next system. It's still 48 hours away, but it will start to affect us late in the day on Saturday. For us tonight, some patchy fog down to 39. Look at the warm-up tomorrow. Partly sunny skies in the afternoon. We are going to have some clouds early. 39 to start, 64 by noon, high temp is 70. Those south winds kind of breezy at about 10 to 15. Tomorrow night's fine. Clear skies, not as cold. We'll drop back near 50. Saturday, I actually think we'll go into lower 70s, but we are going to get a cold front roll in. You can see the front right along the I-44 corridor. Here's 4 p.m. So we have temperatures cooling down behind the front, but along the front, we're going to get about a 2-3 hour window that some thunderstorms could pop up. Some of these could go strong, maybe even low-grade severe. They'll quickly roll through, and then they'll be out of here, and I think we look pretty good by Saturday night. Now, behind this system will be a little bit cooler on Sunday, and then we're going to bounce right back up by the time we head into Monday. And then our next storm system late Tuesday into Wednesday. But at least temperatures are getting better over the next week. 70 tomorrow, 72 Saturday. A little bit cooler on Sunday, 61. Right back to 72 on Tuesday. But then we drop into the 50s again by the middle part of next week.
Good temperatures for the weekend, though.
Yeah, it really is. And we're only going to have rain Saturday evening, so most of the weekend will be dry.
Awesome. Doug Eddy, thank you so much. Coming up in sports, a former local high school basketball standout shining at the next level. Plus, the Labette women are undefeated through 12 games and now have their eyes set on a national championship. Jacob Leonard is up next with details.
After the best season in program history, Colgan girls head basketball coach Abby Farabi earned statewide recognition. Sports in Kansas has named Farabi the 2A Girls Coach of the Year. Now, Farabi led the Panthers to a 19-4 overall record and their first 2 wins ever in a state tournament. Colgan finished as the 2A state runner-up this season while also tying for the top spot in the CNC with a 10-2 league record. Former Labette County High School standout Magic Relaford is having a breakout sophomore season for Neosho Community College. Relaford leads the team in scoring, posting 18 points per game. Now, he's been especially good in March. Check this out. For the month, the former Grizzlies getting 20 per game. He's also playing a lot. Relaford has played 39 or more minutes in 4 of the team's last 6, including playing all 40 twice.
It just feels good to be able to put the ball back on the floor, after sitting out for a whole year, that really took a toll on me. So once I was able to play again, I had to make sure I came out and did what I was supposed to do. They believe in me, and so when they're all telling me, positive things, telling me what I should do, and I know I'm supposed to do it, it helps a lot. So they just tell me go out there and play hard.
You can check out our full story with Relaford on the sports page at KOAMNewsNow.com. The Labette women's basketball team has once again been one of the best in the country this year. Now, they've dealt with a late start and a 2-week quarantine due to COVID-19. But the Cards are still undefeated and have their eyes on another deep postseason run. Sports' Annie Terzer has more.
The Labette women have a perfect 12-0 record this season. They've faced adversity and beaten that too.
Our team has been through a lot since August. We just came out of quarantine, so it was really hard for us to bounce back. We're getting back to where we were in the beginning, and I think we can really contend for a championship if we keep it up.
The Cardinals started the season ranked #1 in the nation. Missing games due to COVID has dropped them down to 8.
Stop ball, stop ball, stop ball! The number 8 ranking is definitely not a reflection of our team, especially with our record. I don't know if it was vindictive, I don't know what it was, but it definitely is going to make us work harder and push to definitely get that #1 spot back.
I see the screen coming, I either go over or under. We just use it as motivation. You know, it's another tool for us to talk about it in the locker room, you know, and let the girls know that we're not getting the respect that you were getting in the beginning of the year, and you got to earn that back.
The Cardinals have multiple players averaging double digits. Their depth is one of their biggest threats.
We're a matchup problem for a lot of teams. We're not a 1-star show or even a 2-star show. It's a lot of us that can contribute.
We've got a lot of really good players, you know, 1 through 14 that we can really rely on, and you know, whoever we bring up off the bench, we know they're going to be just as good as some of the kids we have starting. All right, spread the floor and run. Here we go.
The Labette women are aiming to defend their conference title, but that's not the end goal.
We can't go 50, can't go 75, because that's not going to get us a win. We're going to have to go hard every day. If we just work hard and we go hard, we can definitely contend for a championship.
In Parsons, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Now, Labette is back on the floor this Saturday on the road against KCK. Finally, Joplin's TJ Britton earned his first pro MMA title last weekend. Britton defeated Sky Mosicek with a third-round TKO on Saturday night, earning the Cage of Honor flyweight title. And he got to do it in Joplin in front of a hometown crowd. We caught up with Britton today to talk about earning the title and the big-time fan support Saturday night.
That just gives you that extra little energy. But when you get in that cage and they're yelling, TJ, TJ, man, it just does something to you. The support that our community has for me is truly amazing. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. You know, it's just, I love my community, and I'm blessed that my community loves me back, and they stepped up and they showed it in a big way.
You can check out our full interview with Britton on the sports page on our website. Again, that is KOAMnewsnow.com. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Surging lumber prices are creating a surge in reclaimed lumber. Fox Business Network's Lydia Hugh is at a workshop in Irvington, New Jersey with the story.
Demand for reclaimed lumber is surging as people continue to renovate their homes. A recent industry report estimates that growth in the market is around 4% through 2028. It's expected to reach $70 billion. We are at Real Antique Wood in Irvington, New Jersey, joined by Anthony Saraceno, who is the operational manager. Now, Anthony, you're involved not just in selling the reclaimed lumber, but also in the process of going out and taking apart old barns. Tell us, what are you looking for in deciding whether or not the lumber is good enough to be turned into reclaimed lumber for somebody's home?
The biggest thing in regards to reclaiming old structures is to make sure that it's sound. We want good timber that hasn't been wet, doesn't have any rot, any termite damage, things like that, which we always come across to a certain degree, but we want to ensure that it is as structurally sound as possible so that we on our end can start with a nice solid product to ensure that it upholds the test of time as well for our clients.
And you have a beam right here that we're getting a look at. This came from a recent reclaiming project in Howell, New Jersey.
Correct.
This beam is going to be wire sanded or wire brushed?
Yeah, so this will be getting wire brushed, which cleans it up. It removes any extra glue from the glue joint, gives it a little bit of texture, and just gives it just enough just finished just enough so that it looks original and fits the part. This will look like it has been on the ceiling for 150 years.
That's incredible. And you were saying it could take about 15 hours of work over the course of a couple of weeks to turn this beam from something that you found in an old barn into something that's ready to install in someone's home. The price can range $800 to roughly $1,000 for one beam, but the aesthetic is really beautiful. And it's not just small businesses that are getting in on the market. We're also seeing major retailers like Room and Board. It is a chain retailer, furniture seller. They're asking $3,000 for a coffee table made out of reclaimed lumber that's coming from Baltimore. Just gives you an idea of how mainstream reclaimed lumber industry is going as there's expected growth in the global market to come. We're in Irvington, New Jersey. Lydia Hu, Fox Business.
Going to catch up with William Shatner, talk about his 90th birthday when we come back. William Shatner stars in a new rom-com, and we talked to him all about it, as well as lessons learned in his longtime career, finding joy in one of his longtime hobbies, and his 90th birthday. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
I'm hereby revoking your driver's license.
William Shatner stars in Senior Moment as a retired NASA test pilot whose driver's license is revoked for drag racing, leading him to find a new lease on life.
Eventually, he finds love and he finds another way of living. And that's true of all of us, isn't it? Something happens that changes our life. Instead of giving up, we got to continue and find what life has in store for us.
Was there a big lesson that you learned early in your career as an actor, or maybe something that you kept with you throughout when it comes to choosing projects?
Every time I do something, whether it's on a horse or with a relationship or acting, performing in a role, I think, oh, that's how it's done. What is interesting is to discover not only about yourself, but about the world around you. There's always continuous discovery.
The Star Trek legend also just turned 90.
It's a bit embarrassing.
No.
It is. I mean, my God, who wants to be 90? I don't want to be 90, but I'm 90. I guess what I'm living is what you're supposed to be like when you're 90 and what I am like. I'm 90.
And as the actor adds more roles to his resume, Shatner also continues to find joy in his other passion as a longtime equestrian.
I get to see horses living in the now. They don't live the lion that almost ate them, and they're not anticipating a lion eating them tomorrow. They're like, where's the lion today? That's a big lesson.
That's my car! Senior Moment is in theaters and on demand. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That dude is not 90. Definitely not. That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Gonna leave you with a video of alpacas at the London Zoo. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.